Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Leading Change. I'm Ema Roloff, and today I have Michael with me, and we're going to be talking about cloud strategy. Before I get into all the questions that I've got for you, can you give everybody an introduction?
Yeah, sure. Mike Loggins. I'm based out of Indiana. I've been in IT for about 23 years. Had the opportunity to work in most, uh, roles inside of operations, from help desk all the way up to engineer. And was lucky enough to be able to pivot and get into leadership. And from there, I've been able to lead a global manufacturing operation for the past 16 years.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us and lending your expertise to everybody watching today. So to get us started, you and I were having a conversation around the cloud and using what you called a cloud mindset for building out that strategy. Can you explain a little bit about that mindset?
Yeah, I think the marketing teams at a lot of these companies have done a fantastic job of actually creating um, the definition of cloud to be a product. And I think what's important is the whole idea of the cloud is more of a mindset change. It's about designing with durability, flexibility, scalability, and newer technologies, but that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be somewhere. I think the most important thing about having a cloud mindset is it's a completely different operating model than your traditional IT mindset of the past, where it's about automation. It is about making sure that things are done customer facing for what the customer needs, not just IT and the back end what they need. And I think that's a big change, and I think it's a change we've all in IT have been on for a while. But when the cloud came really gained a lot of popularity, that became second to where is your equipment, or where is your process systems running at, and that is important. But I think the whole idea of what we're trying to do with the cloud, that's secondary.
So, when we take a look at a cloud strategy, then, or this cloud mindset, how does that play into, there's a lot of different options, whether you're going private or public or, using SaaS solutions versus hosting in your own cloud environment. Can you share some suggestions for organizations of kind of how to tackle that challenge?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, uh, make sure that you're answering a business question or business problem with whatever your solution is. That seems pretty basic, but over the last several years, I've seen that start flying out the window again. And we're trying to throw technology to try to keep up with everybody. And I think the most important thing is, what is the goal of going to the cloud? Putting your stuff in the public cloud. I think everyone needs to realize it's okay to have a private cloud. There's nothing uncool about having a private cloud. Most companies of any age and size have some type of legacy solutions inside, and those are solutions that we just can't get rid of. They're going to die there somewhere, and I think it's okay for everyone to realize that those are okay to not move. I've seen a lot of companies try to move those and just have a horrible time, but it's okay not to move those. But it's important to move those into your architecture and your mindset where you can. I've seen many tools out there that allow you to automate several things in legacy systems that typically before we would be just running scripts across. So I think it's important to realize that. I think that one of the biggest things everyone needs to realize is everyone, whether you know it or not, or have identified it or not, you're on a cloud journey. Very few people are not using anything in the cloud, whether it is SaaS, whether it is a platform or infrastructure. You have something in the cloud, whether it's, most likely that's both in your professional and your personal life. So I think there's a big chunk of understanding and looking at what they're doing, looking at what the SaaS providers are doing, looking at what even the hyperscalers are doing to make a better environment for their customers. And just knowing that you can do that, whether you're in private cloud, whether you're in a hybrid cloud, an infrastructure as a service cloud, a public cloud, those are not things that are only owned, the capabilities only owned by these large hyperscalers. They've figured out how to do them and do them amazingly and make it so easy for us. But those exist um, with and sometimes very minimal effort inside of other clouds as well.
So then when we look at the future and kind of future proofing our organizations if we can, what suggestions do you have for organizations as they're looking at building out their strategy and looking to take advantage of kind of both of these approaches?
Yeah, I think the new word that's coming out is multi-cloud. And but that once again, that's not a set of you know, just private and one public cloud. That is truly a set and a mix and creating a complete ecosystem for yourselves and for your organization of multiple different cloud types and cloud companies. Every major cloud provider does something better than somebody else. I mean, that's just the nature of how technology works. Or they do something better than everyone else right now. And you can the whole idea about what the cloud provides you, it really democratizes how you consume resources. Yeah, how you access the capabilities in those environments. So one of the things I think is really important for us to look at is finding ways to be able to consume the cloud systems that provide you what you need when you need it. Um, Everything's moving subscription based. Everything is moving towards a model where you can spin up, spin down fairly quickly. The technology's been in place to redirect things for years. So it's really trying to find out what cloud provides this piece of functionality for me that is better than everyone else's, and taking those pieces and parts and building your own, corporate cloud and environment of the best of breed of everyone. So if one cloud does data analytics better and you need heavy data analytics, don't put your data in somebody else's cloud just because you have your website in that cloud. Make sure you're putting it in the right place. Look at your geographic reach of your customers. Where do they need to access you? If you have customers that are all over the world, there isn't one single hyperscale cloud provider that really can hit every place in the world. There's, obviously geopolitically, there's issues in Middle East, there's issues in China, there's issues in Russia. Well, if those are part of your customer base, a traditional, one of the ones that in America we find as very popular cloud hyperscalers, they don't do so well there. So it's really trying to find out does your customer need and where does it work best, and building that ecosystem of cloud providers. Whether it is a full SaaS or full hyperscaler, or infrastructure only services, if you need something, especially if you do feel like you need to move legacy up. Usually the hyperscalers don't always do it well, but there are a lot of specialty providers out there that can do specific types of legacy based systems to make those run easier for you, and start lowering the need for you to outlay capital expenses every 3-4 years to refresh your entire data center. That operation should become more and more over the years, smaller and smaller operation. And I think you can see that in the way that the hardware providers are starting to sell equipment. They're already starting to get us in the mindset of, buying for elasticity, buying for durability, knowing that as we go, our investments into their products are going to be less and less and less, or they're going to be secondhand. We will get a Dell HP server when we go put it in XYZ cloud. So you're already starting to see them reposition some of their products to be ready for those changes.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. I think the piece that I'm going to pull out of this most is this idea that it's not one size fits all. And digital transformation in general isn't one size fits all. And people get so frustrated when they hear consultants say, well, it depends. But a lot of these decisions come down to, what does your legacy architecture look like? What does your vision for the future look like? And then plotting your own journey between those 2 points. So
Yeah, absolutely. And there's the other piece that is, what does your staff look like? Some of these changes are so monumental, you will leave staff behind, and you have to be able to make sure that you're making that decision. Now, that's That's common even if you're taking an aggressive digital transformation, project on hand, that there's a chance that you are going to leave people behind because of the amount of change you're going to introduce into an environment. But I think that also, I've also seen and I've experienced in some of my pains of where you plan to move something someplace where it will work better, but you forget to look at the people who have to support it on a daily basis, and you create a lot of pain for them, which in turn does not give you the return that you were hoping for out of that solution.
That's a really good point too. And maybe there's an opportunity as you're building out that strategy to upskill those team members that might be
Absolutely,
affected and build that competency internally so that you don't always have to look outside your organization too.
absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us and share your insights on this. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you're not already, make sure you follow Mike on LinkedIn so that you guys can stay in contact and let either one of us know if you've got any questions. But thank you again for joining me and have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Leading Change. If you liked what you saw, be sure to subscribe and come back weekly for more expert interviews on digital transformation, change management, and emerging technologies.